Hello, this is Abby.
Dear Abby, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh boy.
Dear Abby, how do you tell the difference between a new exciting crush and a rebound?
Does it matter?
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
Welcome to our little corner of the internet. This is the Dear Abby podcast. I hope you stay and hang out with us. See you in a sec. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dear Abby. I'm your host, my name is Abby. Welcome back. Today we have a good episode, as hopefully we have every week. I may look a little bit different if you are watching, and that is because I have not had work today because it was a holiday. Therefore, I had more than 20 minutes to get ready, which means I had time to get ready. So it feels good to be actually done up and dressed up because I want to present myself well. But getting ready as a girl is either a really great experience and lighthearted and fun and you feel good, or it's like the worst experience ever. And I think only girls really get that. The past couple of days, for some reason, I guess we're just getting right on into it, but the past couple of days have been one of those weekends where you try on 500 outfits and every outfit you just don't feel good in, you don't feel pretty in. Even if my husband tells me I look beautiful and everything, it doesn't matter sometimes because, I don't know, sometimes sometimes you just don't feel very good. I've just felt a little bit under the weather. So here I am in a random slump where I normally want to fix and figure out all the reasons why I'm sad and in a slump. I'm just going to be in a little bit of a slump, but still get some of the stuff done that I need to get done and then take it easy. And take it easy is not scrolling, or it's not always watching something, which is what I have to remind myself, because sometimes when you want to take it slow, it can be tempting to kind of go on your phone and like you're resting, but that's not truly resting because your mind is still processing things as you're consuming. So for me, resting and taking it easy is like doing nothing, just laying there. Sometimes like a long form movie can be good, but nowadays it mostly just looks like reading for me, or just like laying there doing yoga or something. So moving on. So that's probably my L for the week. And my dev for this week is the fact that I made successfully chocolate chip cookies. And normally when I make chocolate chip cookies, they turn out like absolute garbaggio. So that was good that I made a batch of cookies and they tasted good. I think I needed to put more salt on them, or in them, or just flakes on top of it because it wasn't as salty as I wanted it to be. But they came out not burned. So that felt great. Now, to get to the point of today's episode, I wanted to talk about how mental illness can strip away any comfort, or can basically turn any comforting words or quotes or encouraging words from others into something negative or something that can never apply to you. What I mean by that is, as someone who has OCD and struggles a lot with doubt and looking at the 0.00001% chance that something's going to happen to me out of everybody, and that feels like it's 100%, more than 0.0001%. And sometimes that can look like when somebody wants to be comforting to me and they give me some reassuring words or some comforting words, or I read something like a scripture or a quote, something that usually gives other people comfort. If it is told to me, most of the time, the immediate response is doubt that applies to me, because of course, that would apply to everybody else because everybody else should take comfort in that. But no, it could never apply to me. That's kind of how it feels, that sometimes it feels like something that is good or comforting or grounding can't apply to us or to me or to somebody who has OCD or a mental illness sometimes. OCD will always find reasons that something comforting does not get to apply to you. Some of those things just are immediately almost swatted away because OCD says that doesn't get to apply to you because you've already done too many things wrong, or you've already thought about too many things that there's no going back, or I don't know, just whatever OCD says. But OCD is such a devastating disorder sometimes because it really does trick you, and it uses your own wit, your own creativity against you. And that's why sometimes for me, it feels really confusing, and it especially gets hard when you read something that used to bring you comfort. And when you read it, it doesn't give you comfort anymore. And for, I think, a lot of us that struggle mentally, that's a pretty hard thing to experience, is when something that used to bring you comfort just like doesn't, and it feels like nothing, or it feels like your OCD is telling you it doesn't get to apply to you. You don't get to receive comfort from that, That's too easy. It's too simple. And sometimes it even plays a little bit on your ego, I feel like, where it's like, but you're too smart to do that, right? Like you're too smart to give in to that. Like you're too smart to just think that things can be that simple, or you're too smart to just end it there, right? And that is a very real struggle when you don't feel like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, when you have like no idea how you're going to get there. Just remind yourself and just remember that those feelings and those thoughts that come with those feelings of I'm never going to make it, or it's too late for me, or anything like that, those aren't facts. And you can feel those things, but there needs to be something that pulls deep within you that you need to dig for to be able to still live your life based on that trust or that belief in something, in yourself, and that your life is going to be good. But sometimes that comfort doesn't come until a long time after you are making those good decisions for yourself, after working really hard for a long time. There can be periods of your life where you can be trying so hard for so long, and you can be praying or wishing or trying your best to get some kind of like an answer or get some kind of comfort. And it might not come for a while, because when you have depression or when you're struggling mentally, it's really hard. It's really hard to feel anything positive. But also to remind you that your worth is not tied to your feelings either. So I know I talk a lot about feelings, but I think it's an important reminder that your worth is not tied to your feelings. Your feelings should be felt and processed, but they aren't always like the end all be all, because just like thoughts, feelings kind of come and go, and they're beautiful and mysterious sometimes, and confusing and clear and all over the place. And so are thoughts, and so is life. Easier said than done, but don't get discouraged if it's been a while since you've really felt like comforted or at peace or felt any of those positive emotions. Sometimes it can be a long time before you feel any of that, because you could be struggling. And with that, I always encourage, like, if you are struggling mentally and you haven't felt anything positive, you're losing interest in things, I would encourage you to talk to a specialist or a therapist or a professional or your doctor or somebody and get help for that, because we don't just have to toughen through everything. Sure, you can like work hard to get your stuff done. Yes, we need to sometimes lock in and get the job done and put our feelings aside. But then it is very important that you get help so that you can feel better and feel happy. It doesn't matter how long you've put it off for. It doesn't matter how long you haven't been happy. It doesn't mean that it's too late. You can always try again. I've also found that when I'm chasing comfort and happiness and those big feelings and those good feelings, they don't come. They rarely come like that. It's when I'm really living and practicing the things that I really believe and put my trust in. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about how with mental health, mental illness, sometimes it's so hard to feel comforted by things, and it feels almost impossible to be. But It's not impossible. Again, those are feelings and they will pass. Okay, the second thing that I wanted to talk about was I wanted to talk about being in a slump because, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I have been in a little bit of a slump. I'll probably snap out of it in the next day or so, but I had already written in my notes an episode that I wanted to do about getting out of a slump. One thing I've noticed is when it's been like months or weeks or months or like a year where I feel where I feel as though I'm in just a drought of inspiration, of creativity, of anything. And it's discouraging when you want to be an artist and when that's something that you enjoy. And it's hard when that's just nothing's flowing. I was thinking a lot about that, and one of the conclusions I came to is I can get in a slump because I'm not being humble enough to learn more, honestly. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my head because, for example, if I'm not being humble enough to accept that I need to learn more about life, about people, about things, like, of course, logically, I know that I need to learn more and there's more to learn. But sometimes it's hard to really humble yourself to receive that and to acknowledge, okay, maybe I was wrong about this and maybe I did think about this the incorrect way, or maybe I misjudged this part of my life. I can be scared to make mistakes. It doesn't feel good, I think, for anybody to make a mistake and to be wrong about something, but it definitely does free up your mind and your heart and everything when you can admit it. And when you just take ownership of like, I was wrong and I'm ready to learn more and understand something differently or more truthfully. So that's one thing that I think of when I'm in a slump is I sometimes realize I'm just not being very humble, like to something bigger than me that understands more. But that's just for me. Another reason why we could be in slumps is just bad sleep. You know, like, are you getting good sleep? Because are you getting good sleep? Because that's a big deal. Those small things can really help. The amount of times I thought that the world was going to end and then I went to bed and I woke up and I was like, oh, everything's fine. Countless times. It could even just be the smallest habits that can get you in a slump over time. To go back to being humble enough to learn more and to recognize maybe I can get inspo in different places or new places or the same places. I just need to look at it differently or have a different mindset or a different perspective and be curious. Obviously, curiosity is good and asking questions is good, and expecting to get some kind of an answer, I think, is also good. I don't think you need to expect certainty and an exact answer to every question you ever have, but some kind of conclusion to a question. I think it's okay to expect something. I think another more obvious reason someone could be in a slump, we could be in a slump, is something that is probably a good thing to do and it might just be scary or uncertain, or maybe you're not sure if it's the right thing to do, but you're like, I kind of have a feeling I should do this, or I have an inkling that maybe I should do this, or I've really been wanting to do this or try this, and you're not doing it for some reason, probably because it's scary or it's new. You're not sure if like you can trust yourself or that feeling, like it's just uncertain. So sometimes that can hold us back from moving our life forward. And that's one of the ways that's like we're holding ourselves back. Everybody has a lot to give to the world, and everybody has some talents that they can keep growing, or everybody has something that they can gift other people. Not necessarily for free, just like they have a talent and they can give it and have people pay for it. When we don't do those things that we're being called to do or that feel like it's aligning because we're just scared. It is scary, like, because uncertainty is scary, but it can also be really exciting to be uncertain because I always pictured my life a certain way. Didn't picture myself getting divorced, didn't picture myself getting diagnosed with OCD or bipolar, but I did. And oddly enough, all of those things made my life even better than I could have imagined. Not like exact translation of I have OCD, that makes my life better, because that's definitely not how I feel. Just what I've gotten out of recovery, what I've gotten out of just having that community of people that understand. And also just with my divorce, I feel like that aged me in like understanding of how life can be sometimes. Maybe it hindered me. I don't know. Ask my husband. So if you feel like you're in a slump, look at the ways that you're holding yourself back. If you're not sure about something that you have an idea of, or it comes to your mind or your heart, and you're not sure if that's like gonna help, just try it out anyways and see. But doors will open for you, and there will be opportunities. When one door closes, another one opens. Okay, now let's do a Dear Abby, and then we will end today's episode. Okay, Dear Abby, I've been working on leaning into a more positive mindset, like telling myself, what if this doesn't work out? But I've noticed that when I do this, I start to feel like I'm jinxing the situation, or that being hopeful might make something bad happen. I also worry that being too optimistic might lead me to be a delusional person. Through my recovery process, I've realized these thoughts seem tied to OCD and superstitious thinking. Can you talk about if you've experienced something like this? Can you talk about if you have experienced something like this? How OCD can make positive thinking feel unsafe or triggering, and how you experienced challenging the fear of jinxing things. Okay, so first and foremost, always when you guys ask questions about this, my answer will always be, because I want to be responsible, that if you're really struggling with this, then if you're not already in therapy, I would suggest maybe reaching out to seeing if something that would be beneficial for you. Okay, now I will share my thoughts. I've definitely experienced magical thinking OCD and like more superstitious thinking. I definitely have struggled with thinking that my thoughts have more power than they do, especially because there's like a huge, not trend, but kind of about with podcasts talking about the power of your thoughts. And I actually really do believe that your thoughts like are powerful, but not in the way that like whatever you think is going to happen. And also that like I think because I'm thinking about a plane crashing so much that the plane is actually going to crash, because that is actually something that I did struggle with for a while, is like really having a lot of fear with like, okay, I'm thinking about this too much, so that means it's probably going to happen now. Is this a sign of something? Should I be nervous? Am I controlling this somehow? Like, do I part of me want to crash the plane? Like just weird, just exhausting, nonstop, like magical thinking thoughts like that. So I definitely relate to that. And also it sounds like you're overthinking your positive thinking. Like, is this good positive thinking? Is this bad positive thinking? And while that's like a good thought to have, like, am I being toxically positive where I'm just ignoring things or acting like everything's okay when it's not, or when I'm struggling? But there's a point where it goes past just like, wait, how do I actually feel about this, to like, how do I know 100% for sure I feel this way? Or how do I know for sure that this is the exact right way to be thinking positively? There is a level that's like, you're not going to get that certainty of, am I thinking about this perfectly? And that's kind of scary to think, because it would be nice to just know how we're thinking is the right way and it's going to totally help us in the long run. But a good thing to practice is just recognizing that there might not be a perfect way, or maybe there is, and I might not ever get there. But again, if you're in therapy or you have a therapist or something, you can work on that. If not, you could think of your own small exposures you can do of writing down, what if I'm thinking toxically positive and it's going to destroy my life, or, whatever the bigger fear is past it. Obviously, don't go crazy, especially if you don't have a therapist. This might not be good advice. I don't know, but it's just exposure work. So if you don't have a therapist, you can sometimes, people write their own programs just based off of books, like Freedom from Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. That's a good book that you can build like your hierarchy, because you do like the content of what you're talking about it probably feels very real, and that topic feels very important, of like toxic positivity and overthinking and thinking about thinking. But there's probably a core fear, or there's something that is underneath that, or it's something that is kind of encompassing all of those so that the content doesn't matter too much. There could be a fear that's like, if I'm thinking if I'm not thinking positive enough, or I'm thinking toxically positive, that might ruin my relationships. That might make me go crazy. That might make me lose touch. Like, there could be other fears that you have that are coming with that fear. I really would suggest reading Freedom from Obsessive Compulsive Disorder by Jonathan Grayson something. It's been a while since I've read that book. But he does kind of help you break down how you would set up your hierarchy. But if you are in therapy, just be really honest with your therapist that you're struggling with this, and they will have more of an expertise and a personal touch with you to understand what exactly you're kind of running from or what you're really scared of, and can do exposures with that. So I hope that's helpful in any way. Just know you're not alone. There's a lot of people that struggle with magical thinking and superstition and superstitious thinking and are scared of jinxing things from happening. I've struggled with that a lot. It's not easy, and it's exhausting, and it feels like 1 second feels so real and you're so scared of doing it, of jinxing something, or I don't know, it feels like such a real threat. And then the next day it's like, well, that was crazy. I don't know why I was freaking out about that. But then another day it happens and it feels just as real again. So there's something you said in there, I think, that could lead you to like maybe some of your fears or some things that you can practice with your therapist or by yourself after researching and appropriately learning how to treat it if you can't afford it. But you did mention that you're scared that if you're too optimistic, it'll lead you to being like a delusional person. So be curious about that, or bring that up to your therapist and just explore that feeling, and explore that, because that could be something that you are scared of. Is maybe you're scared other people will think you're delusional and there's something in that, or that you are genuinely just scared of being delusional because you care about understanding people and you don't want to lose touch. So just something I noticed. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope any of that was helpful for you. Thank you for writing in. That's going to be it for today's episode, you guys. If you want to support the podcast, you can leave a rating and review on Apple or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to go above and beyond, you can share the podcast to your story, or just share it with a friend, or just tell people about it if they struggle with mental health or OCD especially. This might be a good podcast or something positive that they can get out of this. Maybe. I would really, really appreciate that. You can subscribe, comment on my YouTube channel. I post all of my podcasts on my YouTube channel, as well as you can comment on Spotify now. I don't think you can do anything on Apple Podcasts. Oh wait, yeah, you can leave a review and a rating. We already said that though. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great weekend. Love you. Bye. 우회전 taking a ride to journey 눈치 보면서 들어가 할 때 찾아 나머진 바빠 개설레임 바꾸는 사람들